chronicling the latest cannabis industry news and headlines. Welcome to the State of Cannabis, bringing you fact-based news and views and keeping listeners on the pulse of what's happening in the industry today. Advocates and analysts will join us to discuss the ongoing path to reform and legislation. Now, the State of Cannabis, with your host, Dave Inman.
Good evening, everyone. I'm your host, Dave Inman. Welcome to the State of Cannabis. Tonight we have Kathy Inman, State Director of NORML in Arizona, and Darren Babin, Vice President of NORML Phoenix. Today I'd like to talk about a couple of different topics that have been floating around. The VA medical centers having long lines of traffic, and some many times aren't even seen by the doctors. That coupled with a recent issue that NORML had came into with Senator Yee blocking funding for a PTSD trial in the University of Arizona. So tonight we have a couple of people that were intrinsic in this process, and I'd like to welcome tonight Kathy Inman and Darren Babin. Everybody say hi to Kathy and Darren.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, what's going on?
It's almost Friday.
Oh, well, I think we are there, sir. We are there.
That it is.
So if you guys wouldn't mind, kind of tell our listeners exactly how this whole thing transpired with this blockage that Senator Yee had proclaimed.
Kathy?
Darren, I like to. Would you like me to take it, or I like the way you tell it? I think you do a great job.
Well, okay, so I kind of jumped into the game, I guess, somewhat after this kind of got started, or actually right as it was getting started. Senator Yee Kimberly Yee here in Arizona, blocked a bill that really came down with overwhelming support here by Arizona lawmakers. And this bill was meant to provide funding for a study at the University of Arizona that would allow the university to actually go in and for the first time, this was approved by the federal government. The Obama administration actually gave it the nod, which I think was somewhat surprising. This was the first study ever approved. And this study was going to actually allow us to understand the safety and the efficacy of cannabis on treatment-resistant PTSD for combat veterans. And as this bill moved through the legislature here, it got into the Senate and was blocked by Kimberly Yee.
Well, and don't forget, it passed the House 52-5, which is overwhelming. And those folks are representing Arizonans. You know, so when it's passing 52-5, that's the people speaking, and then it gets to her committee. And what is she? She's the committee chairman for education there, you know, and that's education is exactly what we're looking for. And she went ahead and blocked it. She just said, no, this isn't going to be heard. And, you know, and that's when we stepped in. Right, Darren?
Yeah, it was, and that was a single-handed blockade, if you will. Kathy, she wasn't taking your calls. I called her office. She never returned my phone call. I know other people from NORML reached out. I know there were people outside of NORML that actually picked up the telephone and called her office just to try and have a conversation with our elected official, and there was absolutely no response.
She even didn't return calls to her fellow senators there, you know, at the State House. And you know, she ignored a lot of folks. So she was upsetting a lot of people. It wasn't just NORML. It's kind of across the board. She just wasn't participating, and she was just going to put up a blockade. And it was her political option So, Darren, what did we do? We used ours, right?
Absolutely. Normal banded together and created a committee called the Arizona Veterans Assistance Committee. And Dave, we sat down, and as a committee, we put our heads together and we began to roll up our sleeves to figure out how we would go forward to get this woman recalled, to hold a recall election. And the idea was essentially, this is an election year. Everybody knew that a recall election really wasn't going to happen, but we really wanted to expose this woman for truly what she was and let her show her colors, and that she would not show any support, in an ongoing manner for veterans. And she absolutely showed her colors, Dave. It was consistently down the line, stalls, more blockade from her office, and
Well, and she told Arizonans that this was taxpayers' money too. They went ahead, she wanted to tell people that we were trying to use taxpayers' money for this funding.
So essentially, what I'm hearing is that it was politics that were involved in this. Is that correct?
Oh yeah.
Guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to have Kathy Inman and Darren Babin. Kathy with Normal in Arizona, of course, and Darren, Vice President of Phoenix Normal. And we'll be right back at you, folks.
More State of Cannabis on CannabisRadio.com when we return. Looking to capitalize your cannabis business? You need the help of professionals who know the ins and outs of this industry and can help your business grow. You need the Green Consulting Group. We grow cannabis. Based in Colorado and working nationwide, we are experts in business strategy and understand the intricacies of operating within existing regulatory structures of this burgeoning industry. We offer business planning and market analysis, dispensary and cultivation management, marijuana license preparation, and regulatory compliance services. The Green Consulting Group are your consummate cannabis consultants and advocates, offering customized, cutting-edge professional consulting services to the cannabis industry. Find out how we can help you by visiting the Green Consulting Group at greenebiz.com. Green Consulting Group does not constitute legal or other professional advice on any subject and always recommends seeking the advice of independent counsel and business professionals.
Hi, I'm Montel Williams. Most of you know me as a talk show host, but I'm also an author, actor, single father of 4, avid snowboarder, and I'm also a medical marijuana patient. Living with multiple sclerosis, I'm in pain every day. Medical marijuana is my last resort, and it helps me when all other drugs have failed. If you'd like more information about medical marijuana, you can contact the Marijuana Policy Project at mpp.org or call 1-877-JOIN-MPP.
How high do you like your profit margin? CannabisRadio.com. Chronicling the latest cannabis industry news and headlines. Welcome back to the State of Cannabis. Once again, here's Dave Inman.
Welcome back to the State of Cannabis. I'm your host, Dave Inman. We have with us Kathy Inman, State Director of Normal in Arizona, and Vice President of Phoenix Normal, Darren Babin. Guys, we were just a little bit ago talking about PTSD, cannabis, the U of A, and a poor senator that decided to stand in the way of any kind of progress. So that being said, Darren, what kind of progress did AVAC, the Arizona Veterans Assistance Committee, what were they able to do in this process?
I think, Dave, what we were really able to do was bring to light exactly what kind of senator is sitting in District 20. And when you look at the kind of representation that's being made, I don't want to say, hey, here's a bad Republican. This should never be like, because that's really not necessarily a true statement anymore. as HR 499 just went through the House.
And that was quite bipartisan. If you look down the board, it was a very bipartisan showing, I felt.
Absolutely. And that's why you can't really look and say, okay, the Republicans, bad, with respect to cannabis law anymore, because I think there's quite, the groundswell of education taking place. And that was really what we were trying to do with respect to Senator Yee and her office. But what she truly did was her and her attorney really showed their intentions, and that was, we're not going to play ball. We're not interested whatsoever in cannabis education for ourselves, so that we can truly understand the impact that this would have on treatment-resistant PTSD. We really don't care to see this legislation get written, and we don't care that the funding gets put into place for the study at the U of A. And I think that's the kind of information we were able to bring to light. I know when we posted our press releases in the Facebook group, there were veterans groups that were sharing this information, and some very large veterans groups here in Arizona. And I was very surprised to see the kind of lift that it got. And I know, Kathy, you had a lot of people that were reaching out to you and got a lot of feedback as well.
Absolutely. I mean, when you're calling to light the fact that 22 of our soldiers come home and commit suicide due to these the pharmaceuticals that they're on, the pharmaceuticals that we see on TV that are telling us, they give us thoughts of suicide. Well, guess what, folks? 22 of our soldiers go and protect us, and then they come home and kill themselves because they're sad and they're being prescribed this kind of legal medication that I find abhorrent. And, that's what I fight against is to get people off of pharmaceuticals, and especially these folks. And for Kimberly Yee to stand in the way of one more day of that research, the funding that came from our Arizona medical marijuana program, it wasn't directly from any kind of other fund. There's no reason that she should have blocked that and taken a stand on her own. So yeah, I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad we brought attention to that.
So let's dive into that real quick, because that's kind of an important facet of all of this. First, the 22, and it's not just 22 that have come back and killed themselves. Of course, it's 22 a day that kill themselves. So I mean, it's in damn near pandemic. If you were really to think about it.
Now, according to the Center for Disease Control, it's an epidemic, and we lose one person every 20 minutes in America from opiates as well. So yeah, it's an absolute tragedy. And for someone like her, who is a Republican, as you had mentioned, Darren, over the years I've seen that Republicans and Democrats both smoke across the board. It's kind of 50-50. But the lawmakers won't come out because they're quote unquote conservative. Well, here's a lady who's conservative, who's a pro-life. She stands up for pro-life issues, and then she won't stand up to save the lives of these soldiers and of a person every 20 minutes who's overdosing on opiates.
Well, and that's an interesting point as well. And when you really think about it, and the turnabout that occurs, it's taxpayer money, when it was actually monies that were brought about by, from my understanding, the collections of the Arizona medical marijuana program, and it was through the collection of the cards, the agent cards, the dispensary licensing fees, and those monies were just held in a kitty. And just recently, Will Humble announced that they're going to be going through some various changes in how they're collecting those fees. It sounds like they're going to be dropping down to about 50% for vets and disabled, fixed income scenarios, where